Okay, great. So, uh, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, we're golden. Uh,
Great.
uh, I'm gonna get us started. Why don't we just do a brief roll call and then um, we should have Gavin introduce himself. So, Nina,
Here.
Kevin,
Here.
Gavin,
Here.
Mish,
Here.
and Marty,
Yeah.
and I'm here. So Gavin Koo is the newest member of the Warrant Committee and is joining us for the first time, although he's been listening in for the last couple of months. Gavin, why don't you, I think Erin knows a little bit about you, but why don't you just tell people, give us a paragraph about who you are and kind of your interests.
Okay, yeah. We've lived in Dover, me and my wife and our two kids, since 2012. So what is that going on? 13 years. Two daughters, a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, both go to Dover Sherburne, I guess, middle school for the younger one, and the older one will be entering ninth grade, so the high school. My wife is Ami Tajani. More people know her than me. Because she was on the library trustees at one point in time, and she works on the Council on Aging right now, or Council of Aging. I was in the investment world for give or take 20 plus years. First at Bain Capital and their hedge fund business. Then I was at their global macro fund before moving to Harvard University's endowment, where I managed their commodity futures book for a while. And then their farmland and timberland group, which eventually spun out. So my last give or take almost decade was food and agricultural investing. So think farmland and timberland. But I left that in December and call it semi-retired. In between things, I'm not exactly sure what's going to end up happening after that. But being involved in the town was always one of the things that I thought was interesting. Ever since we got introduced to Dover's annual town meeting. Ooh, we didn't go in the first year we were here, but we wondered why we couldn't get a babysitter, and then we found out that it was that event. So no, I've met a couple of you, but certainly not all. So hopefully over the coming months, I'll get to know everybody better.
Great, thank you. So we have really 3 agenda items. I'm hoping to keep this relatively short. Mish, you're at the soccer game. Oh my goodness, look at that. Okay.
I wasn't sure where you were, Mish.
So we need to get done so she can actually watch the game. So
Yeah, it starts at 7:30. So
the 3 orders of business. The first one are approving reserve fund transfers and appropriation transfers. And Chris Costello is on to kind of help us with that and walk us through what we need to do. Then I thought we should spend a few minutes addressing what we need to do in preparation for the special town meeting this fall. So the special town meeting is scheduled for September 29th. Right now, I think the only order of business is the MBTA Communities Act, but there may be other smaller things added to that. But at least for our purposes, we're going to need to do what we did addressing the articles of at May's town meeting. So we need to do a write-up and then as a group come to a vote around the bylaw, either in favor or opposed to the bylaw that's being proposed. I think I put this in my email. I found it difficult. Carol Lisbon kept assuring me that all the material was on the website, and I found it a little difficult to find. It is on the planning board page, but it doesn't come up immediately. If you go to the planning board page and go to housing, And then there's a tab for the MBTA Communities Act that has background materials, including what I was told is the most current draft of the proposed bylaw. So that may well change. Right now, the planning board is anticipating an informational session for all of the relevant boards and committees. I think it's scheduled for August 18th to address any questions people have about the bylaw. By then, they should have given us a finalized version, and then after that we'll kind of address it as a group and take a vote that will presumably go out as part of the material in advance of the session. So let's and the third thing I wanted to talk about are the working groups. So let's start with number one. Chris, do you want to just give us a brief, since most of the people on this have not had to go through this before. Can you just tell us what we actually are doing?
Yeah, absolutely. And Woody, just before I start, I think I will need some help sharing the screen. So if we could pull up the Excel workbook, if that's possible, that would be great. Just so I can help me walk through stuff.
Okay.
But in the meantime, so just to kind of set the stage for what we're looking for approval for tonight is, everyone's probably pretty familiar with the budget prep process that we just went through town meeting and leading up until May and ultimately approving next year's budget. But at the same time, internally, finance team is executing the current budget. And over the past year before July 1st, we were working on the FY25 budget. And when we approve a budget at town meeting, it's really a snapshot of what we intend to do financially over the course of the year. But and for the most part, everything usually goes according to plan. But sometimes things come up in operations or policy needs that make us deviate from the plan of what we tried to accomplish financially. So what we're bringing forward for discussion and potentially a vote tonight is appropriation transfers from department lines to another. And these are needed because some deficits were created over the course of executing this budget. What we'll go through on this sheet is an outline of those deficit amounts, the plan for funding those deficits and the associated accounts, and really just try to outline really everything that came up that caused a deficit in the execution of the FY25 budget. So what we have here on the screen, we provided forms for each proposed solution to each one of those deficits. So the first one here is a deficit of $5,000 for the Parks and Rec department. And this deficit was created due to, they have a 10-year-old tractor that they use for operations. And that 10-year-old tractor ended up needing significantly more maintenance this year than expected, which caused the deficit. So what they're proposing here is they had a surplus in the Parks and Rec within the same budget, a surplus in their overtime account. They did not need as much overtime this year. They had some staffing changes within the department. So that's what created the surplus. So this transfer really moves money from the OT line to that vehicle maintenance line that's in deficit. And that's no.
Can I just interject for a minute? So
Yeah.
we're going to end up voting on each of these transfers. We have to approve each of the transfers as a group or disapprove them. Not 100% sure about this, but I think we can actually have a single motion that includes all of the transfers. So I'll let Chris go through each of them.
Mhm.
If you have any questions about any of these items, though, we should discuss them as he goes through. So any questions first about the Parks and Rec transfer? Okay, if not,
All right, moving forward, this is a proposed transfer for the planning department. And there was a deficit of just over $21,000 created in the planning permanent staff line item. And we're proposing a transfer from the planning professional services line to cover that balance. Now, this deficit, we had a departure of a staff member in the planning department this year. And the reason why there was a deficit created in the salary line is due to associated costs for the departure of that employee. And the planned transfer for coming from professional services is that they just did not use as much professional services this year as intended. So once again, this is similar to the Parks and Rec transfer where we're essentially, it's all within the same budget. We're just transferring from an expense line to a salary line. So a surplus to the deficit to balance it out.
any questions about this one?
Well, I'm just a little like, what costs $21,000 for somebody to leave?
Yeah, so there was a severance agreement with this particular employee, and that's about as much as I can say at this point. But that's what drove the deficit in the salary line.
Okay.
Mhm.
Is that typical? There's with town staff? Is there like depending upon longevity, there's like a formula for severance or something?
This was more of a one-off situation.
Yeah, I would say it was an unusual situation that required an unusual response.
Yep.
I'm intrigued.
So, hey, Chris, can I ask a related question? If
Yep.
this hadn't occurred and there was a surplus, I guess, left over in the line item for professional services, what would happen to that?
So assuming there's no deficit, all the surpluses end up being a turnback, which I believe fall to free cash.
Okay. And maybe at the end of this, if you know off the top of your head, how much of accumulated, I'll say, surplus or unused dollars will be transferred to free cash?
So we haven't done that analysis quite yet, just because we just finished, the last basically two of the big expenses remaining for the FY25 budget, meaning the accounts payable is going through this week, and then payroll is next week. So once all that settles, we'll do that analysis and come up with, essentially what is the turn back amount. I know in some other lines, just from reviewing things through this process, that there are surpluses in other budgets.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so moving forward, this is the Board of Health. This is another salary deficit. This year we added a public health nurse through a shared services agreement with the towns of Needham and Sherborne, and all three of these communities are sharing the costs of this nurse. It's based on a grant that we received. However, there were some timing issues with the receipt of the reimbursement from the town of Needham. And we had the nurse start and we paid her out of the salary line. And, due to the timing issues, we still haven't received our portion of the split from the town of Needham, which is why the deficit was created and why it needs to be funded at this particular moment. But we do expect reimbursement for this expense to come back to us. And also going forward, we should have a better grip on the timing of the funds received from Needham. So we don't expect this to be a reoccurring thing or a deficit to happen again. But again, where we're proposing this transfer come from is the Board of Health professional services line. And again, it's the same with some of these other transfers. They just didn't use as much professional services this year as they expected. And again, we're going from a department expense line to a salary line here as well.
Questions? If not,
Okay. So this is for the Historical Commission, and it's a pretty small budget overall, which means, depending on what they want to do every year, they have very limited resources to do so. In this particular scenario, we're looking at a deficit of about $250. And I think it was just overspent on a singular training. I think the training was in total about $350. So it was just an overspend. And because there really is only one line in this Historical Commission budget, we weren't able to keep this one, transferred from another departmental line. So we're pulling from a surplus in the health insurance premium account. And you're probably going to hear this over and over as we work through some of the Board of Selectmen deficits coming up, but the surplus is available in the health insurance premium line because of conservative budgeting practices related to budgeting for the health insurance premiums. We don't receive the actuals for the health insurance rate for the next fiscal year until sometimes late February. So when we prep the budget before, in the late fall, early winter, we have to bake in a conservative amount or an estimated amount, just to plug in a number. So we always end up with a little bit of surplus in this area due to that practice.
questions about the Historical Commission? If not, great. Okay.
All right, so moving into this is account for data processing, or also known as IT services. For those of you who don't know, we don't have an IT department in our organization. So we have a third-party IT services provider, which runs our network, all of our hardware, and even some of our software. So this is a pretty larger deficit than what we've seen before. But the deficit in this account was $93,500. And this is driven largely by some additional services that we had to acquire from said IT provider related to a municipal fiber project, which was a sizable infrastructure project around the townhouse. We did receive a community compact IT grant for a portion of that work, but the grant did not cover some of the infrastructure work that we needed done in the townhouse. So we had to tap our IT provider to provide some of those services. Another factor that's driving this deficit is, in general, increased cost for IT services. And also our hardware is aging. We had bought and purchased a bunch of laptops back when COVID-19 was around to help the staff be a little bit more mobile. And all those hardware and machines are aging and needed to be replaced this year, unfortunately. In addition, we have basically costs for having licenses for our employees, and even sometimes board and committee members. Everybody has a town email, so those are a cost that continue to go up as well, and that we carry the more people that we have, within our network. So that's a summary of really the main drivers of the deficit. And again, we're proposing that this be funded by the surplus in the health insurance premiums account.
I'm just curious about why would there be such a surplus in health insurance premiums? That seems like it would be a pretty fixed or understood cost every year.
Yep, it's a timing. It's an issue of timing, really. And as I alluded to before, we don't get the approved final rates for our health insurance premiums until mid to late February, which is pretty late in the budget prep process. When we start putting together the composite, the skeleton of the budget, we have to assume a much higher rate as a conservative practice, just in case that health insurance rates come in higher than we expected. And that's built in generally in, November, December, when we're kind of building out the model for the budget. And this year, I think we were planning for a 7% increase. And when the actuals came in, it was off the top of my head here, like less than 4%. So that's really what drives it. The total surplus in that account is, I believe, over $590,000 as it sits now.
Okay, and that'll be transferred back to the general fund or whatever.
Yeah, so the next few transfers we have coming up are tapping into this surplus in that account, but the remainder, and there will be a significant remainder, that's something, it's in the general fund. So when that surplus will be returned to free cash.
Did we, Woody, I don't really remember in what we were looking at for next year's budget. Were we that conservative again with the healthcare cost, like a 7%, expecting a 7% increase?
So I think everybody was surprised that the contract this year came in where it did. And I think the general experience around Eastern Massachusetts was that costs were going up faster than 3.5%, which I think is about what we ended up experiencing for our group. So some of this has to do with the recent experience of the larger group that we contract with, and costs had been lower than anticipated, and that's why the contract ended up being negotiated in a more favorable way. I don't think, given what's been happening in the health insurance market so far, I'm not sure this favorable experience is going to be duplicated this coming year. It's just, it's really, I think it's really difficult to predict what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right now, drug costs are driving, particularly GLP-1 agonists, drug costs are driving health insurers crazy. So depending on kind of how the contract works and whether or not they continue to cover GLP-1 agonists, for example.
Sorry, somebody's at my door. I'll be right back.
But that may end up driving whether or not the cost goes up so much. So it's, I think as a town, we're probably going to end up being somewhat conservative about what the experience is likely to be this coming year. I personally think it's unlikely to be this favorable.
Can I ask two quick questions associated with this $93,500?
Mm-hmm.
One is, how much of it is one-off for just this year that kind of happens? Like, it sounds like if it was a 5-year installation, that's more of a one-off, versus how much is likely to be more recurring? And then what is 93,500 relative to the overall IT budget? I mean, I just, from a conceptual standpoint, it seems like a big number, but what's the context?
It is a sizable number. I believe the overall budgeted amount was 190,000 for this year. There's, I don't know the specific number breakdown related to the fiber project, but I will say that IT costs are something that continues to go up for us, mainly because we don't have a singular person overseeing the costs with great detail, meaning we don't have the departmental bandwidth to really make it as efficient as possible, really beholden to the IT provider. I believe we recognize that the costs are going up, and we did put in a sizable requested an increase and got it approved for this coming town meeting. I mean, this past town meeting. So I believe we're going up to 255 for FY26. So I believe we'll be able to at least capture some of the regular increases that we expect for those reoccurring services and costs. And then again, the fiber project, we don't have any of those big IT infrastructures teed up for this year. So I expect costs to go up, but I think we're better positioned to manage it for this next fiscal year.
Other questions?
No, I'm sorry, Manish, you're probably mad I'm asking so many questions now, but and I'm sorry I missed it. But my only comment was a $500,000, overshot is not immaterial. So I just want to make sure as we debate some of these other line items that we're not, being so conservative here that we're missing opportunities to fund some of the other things that we were on the fence about. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not certain I understand what, maybe if you could rephrase the question, I'd be happy to take a stab at it.
Oh, no, it just seemed like we
Yeah.
built, so basically there was a budget. We said
Mhm.
healthcare was gonna go up by 7.5%, so we put a whole bunch of money aside, but $500,000 is a lot of money to be off by, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And so, there's other things where we were in the $30,000, $70,000 range. We're like, well, we can't do that. We shouldn't do this and it just seems like, wow,
Yeah.
if we knew that was there, then maybe we would have thought differently.
Yeah, and I see what you're saying now. But I think it just goes back to the timing of when the actual projections come in.
Sure.
I mean, when you get your actual numbers, all the requests and the rest of the budget is already in. So I think it would take a pretty significant pivot late in the game, so to say, to really make the adjustment that I think you're trying to think about is funding other objectives. So it's one of those circumstances that it's really just due to the timing
Yeah,
of
sure.
when we get the finals.
Yeah,
I do see
Kevin,
what you're
if
saying.
I may quickly add that when you take a 3% change on a very large number, it becomes a very large number. And this is a large line item that we're talking about.
Right.
And the other thing is it's a little bit akin to the snow budget. No one has any idea how many snowstorms we're going to get in the coming winter. And so with healthcare premiums, there's a similar just unknown factor, and the percentages can swing wildly. They can go double digits,
Yeah.
and we can be significantly under in this budget, our line item. So it's literally kind of you go to the broker and ask them, what have towns been seeing? What have organizations with our same population been seeing? They give you the best guesstimate, and that's kind of the best we can do.
Okay. Understand. Thanks, Dave.
Other questions? Okay, next.
All right, so moving forward, so what I want to say before we get through the next 4 transfers is that although these are all separate transfers, they are all funding the same line. So we're looking at one overall larger deficit here. So I just wanted to make that clear before we walk through the next four. But the deficit in question is the Selectmen Professional Services line, which has a total deficit of $160,000. This is a more not straightforward, is probably not the right word, but more logical explanation for why this deficit occurred. And in this particular transfer, we're looking at transferring $20,524.50 from, again, the health insurance premiums account to the Selectmen Professional Services line. And all of these will have a similar nature for the reason, but we lost a good portion of our financial staff this year. We were operating without a full-time treasurer collector for a period of time, and actually years before this as well. And we had to hire a consultant to run that office. In addition to the consultant handling the day-to-day operations, there was also a significant amount of cleanup work in terms of reconciliation and just operation of that department. So the consultant and the consulting company was also providing some of these catch-up cleanup services as well. So that explains the overall deficit. There was also, we had we lost our whole accounting department. We had 3 positions, and at one point we were down to 0. We had to hire another consultant to run that office. And again, these are all paid appropriately out of the professional services from the Selectmen budget. But it created a significant deficit that as we get through the rest of the transfers, we were able to cover with some of the surpluses that were created from the respective department salary lines from those departures of staff. But again, there was more services related just to the day-to-day operation, and it wasn't exactly a dollar-to-dollar comparison in terms of cost of the service to a staff person's salary. So there was an increased cost associated with these consultants overall as well. I know that's a lot of backstory for this one transfer, but I figured I'd just try to lay it out once now to help inform our discussions as we move through the rest of the transfers for this line. But these are all, again, because we didn't have surpluses in the Selectmen's budget overall, we're proposing some of these transfers be funded with the health insurance premium surplus as well.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, so we're looking at the $16,475.64. Again, this is the same deficit situation that was created, although we did do our best to look at surpluses within the treasurer's department and pull any surplus that we had in there to help fill this. So we had a surplus of $16,474.64 in the treasurer's professional service line. And again, this surplus was created because we already had hired a professional service to come in to run the department, and that professional service didn't go out and hire more professional service. So that's why the surplus exists in that particular line, and we're going to apply that to the deficit created by the staff vacancy.
Discussion.
Chris, could you, maybe you already mentioned this, but what is the total deficit that needs to be made up for the treasurer's vacancy? You're doing this because the source of funds is coming from different places, but what is the total that you're trying to cover here?
Total deficit in the Selectmen Professional Services line is, I believe, $158,000.
All related to the treasurer's vacancy?
And accounting.
And accounting, okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Other questions? Next.
Okay, so again, same reasoning for the deficit. This time we're taking the surplus generated from the staffing treasury vacancy. So you'll see the treasurer salary line, and we're applying that again to the same deficit from the selectmen professional services line. The total amount on this one is $56,000.
This one?
Okay, yep. And again, this is same deficit. And this is the surplus that was created from all the accounting vacancies. So $65,868 from the accounting salaries line, transferring that again to selectmen professional services. And this is partly in the deficit created from hiring and paying the accounting consultant that's serving as our town accountant.
This, I think, is the last one.
Yep, this is the last one. This is we're moving away from the selectmen professional services line, and now we're looking at legal fee deficit of $25,000. We're proposing a transfer from, again, the health insurance premium account surplus. This deficit was created mainly we just overspent on legal expenses. We had a significant amount of issues that required legal consultation this year, both for personnel related reasons, policy related reasons, just general law consultation. An example I'll give of this is we had a new 40B development application come through this year, and we didn't have a lot of institutional knowledge or expertise on our zoning board. So we had to fill in the gaps with legal consultation to help provide and run this very policy-based application process. And this was necessary to really mitigate any risks and help try to get a good grip on making sure that the proposal was done in a correct manner according to Mass General Law. So that doesn't explain the whole deficit, but it just wanted to use that as an example to illustrate how it's possible to overspend on legal services in general.
Great. Any questions about this final one? Okay.
So it seems like in aggregate, nothing's needing to get funded from free cash. Everything has an underage offset that we're effectively just transferring to cover the gaps.
Yeah, you're right. And we tried to follow somewhat of like an accounting logic with this. If a deficit could be funded within its own respective cost center or department, we made that decision. That's why the first proposals for deficits you saw were funded with surpluses within the same line item. It was a expense to a salary transfer. If a deficit was not able to be funded in that way, we looked for other surpluses to fund them with. The largest surplus we have is in that health insurance premium account. And that's why we kind of went back to that line item due to the large surplus that was generated. So that's kind of the logic we walk through. I think the last thing we would want to do is hit the reserve fund for when it's not truly necessary, or an example of an extreme circumstance that's not able to be covered in any other way.
Okay. And just one last question, because I'm new, is do we track every year where the overages are in order to just structurally be able to understand context as well as identify patterns, or see if, hey, look, there's one area that we're just consistently underestimating or overestimating? I'm just wondering, seeing all these different sheets, it's hard to get context on it.
Yeah.
Some sort of tabular by department, just to understand if if there are problem areas that we need to be aware of long-term, or
Mhm.
if it's kind of more just a random dispersal that happens here and there, and there's nothing structural.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and unfortunately, I'm not super well positioned to answer it at this point, as I'm new to this role as well. So I'm still trying to learn on the history and practices. But to answer, I'm not sure about the analysis, but our financial, software and system, we do have the ability to view and you have data to draw upon to make an analysis like that. But this is my first budget cycle as well, so I'm still learning about what type of analyses are done.
So just to kind of review, so what we're talking about right now are appropriation transfers. So so as I understand it, the priority, the when there's a shortfall in an account, we try first to cover that with appropriation transfers. If that turns out to be impossible, the next choice would be reserve fund transfers. So the reserve fund's $250,000 each of the last several years, and those funds are available for deficit to cover deficits um, um, with approval of the Board of Selectmen and the Warrant Committee. First choice, though, would be if there's a surplus in one account, we transfer from that account to another account. We can't access free cash, as I understand it, without going back to town meeting.
Correct.
So it would take, it would have to have a special town meeting to dip into free cash to cover a deficit. So kind of an extreme situation would have to occur for us to take that step. So these are all transfer requests. I'm going to go through these, and I actually have changed my mind. I think what we probably should do is vote separately on each of these. So what I would like is a motion, and the motion is, first motion would be to transfer $25,000 from account 01914517 health insurance premiums to account 01151530 legal fees. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
I think that's Marty.
Yep.
And can I get a second?
Second. Yeah.
Great. So Nina?
Yes.
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Misha, you still there?
Yep, yes, yes,
Oh.
and yes.
Marty?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Great.
Why can't we do them all at once, Woody?
I just don't want to end up in a situation that if one of them ends up turning out to be a problem, that we'd have to vote on each one again. This way, if there's a problem with one of them, we just have to vote on that one again. So this may be excessively cautious, but okay. So next one is like a motion to transfer $65,868 from account 0113551110 accounting salaries to account 01122530 selectmen professional services.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Great. Okay, Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
Mish,
Yes.
and I mean, great. Okay, so next one. I'm looking for a motion to transfer $56,000 from 01-145-5110 treasurer salary to 01-122-5300 selectman professional services.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Great. Okay. Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Nish,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next one, a motion to transfer $16,475.64 from account 01-145-5313 treasurer professional service to account number 01-122-5300 selectman professional services.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Great. Kevin. So Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Nish,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Great. So next is a motion to transfer $20,524.50 from account number 01-914-5170 health insurance premiums to account number 01-122-5300 selectmen professional services.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second.
Second.
Kevin, thank you. Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Nish,
Yes.
and Marty.
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Great. Next, motion to transfer $93,500 from account 01-914-5170 health insurance premiums to account number 01-155-5300 data processing professional services. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Marty, thank you. Second.
Second.
Evan, thank you. Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Evan,
Yes.
Nish,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next, a motion to transfer $250 from account 01-914-5170 health insurance premiums to account number 01-691-5300 historical commission professional services. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Marty, thank you. And a second.
Second.
Gavin, thank you. Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Nish,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. We're on a roll here.
Hmm.
Okay. A motion to transfer $25,939.19 from account 01-510-5300 Board of Health Professional Services to account number 01-510-5110 Board of Health Permanent Staff. Do I have
So
a,
moved.
thank you, Marty. And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Gavin. Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Nish,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Great. A motion to transfer $21,270.17 from account number 01-175-5300 Planning Professional Services to account number 01-175-5110 Planning Permanent Staff. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Gavin, do I have a second?
Yes.
Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Nish,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Great. A motion to transfer $5,000 from account number 0156051333 Parks and Rec overtime to account number 01650522 vehicle maintenance. May I have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Great. Nina?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Nish?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. And I hate to say it, but that's all the account appropriation transfers. So now we have 2 reserve fund transfers, which I think I can get up for you. Well, I can at least just tell you quickly. The first reserve fund transfer is actually a warrant committee transfer. The amount requested is $2,696. The account number is 0113153000 warrant committee printing. And the reason for the request is that, as you all heard prior to town meeting, the printing costs were significantly greater than we had anticipated this last year. So this is to cover the overage in the printing of the Blue Book. Any questions about this?
No.
All right. One of the tasks of the Blue Book working group is going to be to work with Chris to identify a different vendor, or at least to come up with a different plan for printing so that we're not blindsided 2 weeks before town meeting with a bill that's significantly above anticipated. So can I get a motion, though, to transfer $2,696 from the reserve fund to account number 0113153000 warrant committee printing?
So moved.
Thank you, Marty. And a second?
Second.
Thank you, Gavin. Nina?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Nish?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Home stretch here. This is the other reserve fund transfer request for $35,500 to be transferred to 0117153000 professional services. This is for the Conservation Commission, and it is to cover consultant costs for Janet Bowser for April, May, and June. Chris, do you just want to briefly give us a...
Yep. Oh, lost you, Woody. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, so I'll just touch on this. This one was prepared by the Conservation Department and Commission. Our conservation agent in Dover, our conservation office is staffed by a part-time staff member, and we have, as many of you probably know her, Janet Bowser, who is our consultant agent, conservation agent. So in regards to this deficit, I believe it was due to increased service, basically demand on her services related to, could be applications that go before different committees that require a conservation element to be analyzed, like wetlands laws and things of that nature. This one, I think they took a different approach in terms of the transfer request. As I believe when talking to Lori, this deficit does not currently exist. So they put this, you can see the date on the transfer in May. They realized that this would be eventually a deficit. And that's why they prepared this transfer and ultimately chose the reserve fund to try to fund this anticipated cost for the April, May, June invoices.
Chris, do you have any sense of how they're going to try and manage this in future budgets? It feels like this is not a long-term solution.
Yeah. Yeah, I wish I had more detail as to going forward, but I think they recognize that there might they overspent on services. So if anything, they're aware that this needs to be one identified going forward and probably better a little tightly managed in terms of her services. So. Yeah, I mean, I think going forward, it's just something they're going to have to keep an eye on. And maybe we can keep an eye on it as well. But in terms of her deployment and the services, some things do require have the complexity that requires somebody to come in and make sure we're complying with laws related to conservation in terms of development.
Yeah, well, she's definitely a resource. So
yeah, yep. And the volume for this type of work varies. I think if you were to look at another community that had a staff person as a conservation agent, there's you're not getting billed a la carte for these services. You more have a staff person that manages it all. So I think it's also just the kind of unique nature of our setup of that department as well that kind of contributes to some of this stuff. And again, this is my own 2 cents. I'm sure they might have some additional details as well.
I think their workload has certainly been going up over the last couple of years.
Yep.
It's like they're going to have to figure out a way to staff these in a way that's more sustainable. Okay, so I would like a motion to transfer $35,500 from the reserve fund to account 01-171-5300 professional services, Conservation Commission. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Marty. And a second.
Second.
Thank you, Gavin. Nina,
Yes.
Kevin,
Yes.
Gavin,
Yes.
Mish,
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Great. So that does it for all of the transfer requests that I'm aware of. Am I correct, Chris?
Yes.
Great. All right. So we're done. Thanks for your help, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate everybody's time and the additional insights as well. Really helpful. So I appreciate it.
So can I ask just a practical question? So we've
Mhm.
now approved these. We voted and approved these.
Yep.
Is there a next step? Do I have to sign something?
Yeah, the chair will have to come in and sign these forms. On the bottom of at least the appropriation transfers, you'll see there's like a signature block. I have them all. I can have them with Mona, so you can pop into the selectman's office and have them sign. Also, same thing for the reserve fund transfers. So I'll have all those prepped for you and can coordinate time to come in.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. So we had 2 other agenda items. I don't want to spend a lot more time tonight. It seems like an hour-long meeting in the summer is sufficient. The 2 agenda items were just starting to think about how we're going to manage the planning board request around the MBTA Communities Act bylaw and the special town meeting. And I think Am I correct that you and Simone are the liaisons for the planning board?
Yes.
Great. And any thoughts?
You mentioned a meeting that the planning board is going to have to go over.
Well, I had a phone call with Carol Lisbon a couple of days ago in which she mentioned that they are anticipating. I find it hard sometimes to keep track. Carol talks very fast, so I had a little trouble following everything that she said during our phone conversation. But what I understand is that they're going to try and communicate with and get uh, Board of Health, the ZBA, other groups in town to support to vote and support the bylaw proposal. And they want to take that support to the special town meeting. We have a slightly different role, I would say, in that warrant committee's job is to make a recommendation to town meeting around articles and whether or not we recommend support or denial of articles being presented to town meeting. So we would treat this proposed bylaw as an article just as we would in the Maytown meeting. So we need to do a brief write-up of it and vote as a group what we think. And that I'm assuming that our vote will be transmitted in the Blue Book or whatever is prepared as background material for the town meeting. The August 18th meeting is an informational meeting for us as well as for other boards in town. We don't we can use that meeting as we wish. We could ask I think Jody Shu's been the planning, who's vice chair of the planning board, has been the person who's really been managing the response to the MBTA Communities Act. We could ask Jody to meet with our committee in a special meeting. We could review the bylaw as it's written and the materials individually as they're posted on the town website, and then as a group decide what it is we want. I think we could handle this a few different ways. Um, I have a few questions based on my looking at the material. I don't know how many of you got a chance to attend any the informational meetings that were held by the planning board. There were three, I believe, three informational meetings around the MBTA Communities Act with the consultant and a discussion of things. The information from those informational meetings is on the website as well. Thoughts?
I mean, I'm sure what I mean, basically we're gonna get an information download on August 18th.
Yeah, I think if you look at the website, the vast majority of the information you're going to want is already on the website.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think we have to wait for the August 18th meeting. The August 18th meeting is going to happen regardless. I think I doubt there's going to be a lot provided at the August 18th meeting that is not already on the website. But I would encourage all of you to look at the website and kind of go through the material and see what questions you might have. We could then, as a group, at one of our meetings this summer, discuss it and decide whether or not, how we want to handle things. Wait to the August 18th meeting, ask Jody to meet with us, whatever.
When do you want to have the vote by this group so that it's ready for the town
I
meeting?
think by the end of, we need to have a decision. We need to have a write-up and a decision by our group, I would say by end of August, beginning of September.
It's been on my list to reach out to Carol, and I'll copy Simone. I just got back from being away after a few days, so I was waiting till after the holiday, figuring other people might be away too. But in any event, I can talk to Carol also, and I don't know what's procedural here or not, but see if she wants to attend one of our meetings prior to the 18th if we meet before then.
Yeah, she might. I think Jody might be the person who would be,
Okay, I can ask Carol or Jody.
but yeah, either one. I don't, uh, but it may make sense for people to review the material first and then decide, and then as a group, think of what questions we might have, uh, that we wish to have answered. And then, we could pose those to Jody and Carol and decide if it's worth meeting, whether they prefer to do it at the August 18th meeting. Uh, the August 8th, my own personal timeline would be that we probably ought to have our vote kind of end of August, first couple of days of September, so that we can have some things submitted and printed in whatever material is going out for this special town meeting. I think the other thing, this is not primarily our challenge. I don't think, but with special town meetings, one of the bigger issues is going to be whether or not a quorum can be obtained. It's not just how many, what we're recommending about the vote, but we should think as a group about just how we might encourage attendance at town meeting, because it would be a shame if we went to the expense of having a special town meeting and didn't achieve a quorum.
Woody, does the material on the planning board website, in addition to explaining what the issue is there an opinion expressed by the planning board and the selectmen that we can?
Well, Dave might be able to comment whether the select board has an opinion. There is a draft of a bylaw proposal that the planning board is intending to submit at town meeting for
Okay.
approval at town meeting.
Yeah.
So the what I don't know is whether or not the bylaw draft is, I don't think it is necessarily final, but it must be close to final. It certainly reads as though it's been reviewed extensively by legal as well as a variety of other people. So I'm assuming it's pretty close to the final version. We need to have a final version, obviously, before we can vote on it.
And this was drafted by the planning board, I assume. So by definition, they're in support of whatever it is that's on there, right?
Correct. Yeah, they're the sponsors for this article for special town meeting.
Okay.
To answer your question, Marty, the selectmen will be producing a statement of support.
Okay. So this is all about whether we concur with what input there.
Yes.
If I can, it sounds like there's just basically a choice between three locations. Is that, if I gathering just in my cursory review here?
So what's happened, there are three locations that were identified by the planning board, and then through some open sessions, people voted on which one they wanted. County Court was quote the winner, and we have sent that to the state in advance to ensure that the state will concur and won't make us go through this whole process and then say, no, you can't use County Court. So if county court is denied by the state, and likely there's the least popular spot down on Junction Street is not a 40B currently. And the second one is as well. I believe it's one of the first Red Robin. So in any event, either way, the potential loss to the town of Dover far outweighs the overlay district, where again, not one of these has to be built. It's giving the land the right to have higher density housing. That's it. Unlike a 40B where it's going up. If a 40B gets shoved through, it's going to go up. So this is just a zoning bylaw, not a building bylaw. And the other update, in case you have not heard, is the 3 or 4, maybe it was 5 towns who were suing the Commonwealth after Milton. The decision came down from the courts, voting on the side of the Commonwealth. So there are no outstanding lawsuits open, and when you hear there's one very vocal opponent who's saying there's 34 towns that are against, that is a gross twisting of the truth. There may be 34 towns who are not yet in compliance, but they are in active talks with the Commonwealth to come into compliance. So it's a negotiation, or they're like us. We're not in compliance yet either, but we don't have to be until 12/31. So, sorry, that was probably way too much information, Woody, but
Yeah.
it all came rambling out.
Fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'm going to suggest maybe Nina, you and Simone should talk.
Yep.
Confer with Carol or Jody, and in the meantime, I would encourage everybody to look at the material on the website and review it themselves and see what questions or comments they might have about the bylaw. The bylaw is pretty dense and is pretty long, so it's not a light read. But then we can decide kind of what we need. We're not under much time pressure here. We've got at least until the end of August, I think, to take a vote. But it'd be nice to have a sense of what we're going to do and whether or not there are issues that are going to come up within the committee that people have.
It also sounds like there's a need for an executive summary then, if it's a dense document.
There will be need for a summary, yeah.
The planning board hasn't done anything like that.
They've done quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
So a summary will definitely be provided.
Oh, good.
I think that for the blue book or whatever is issued, we should probably collaborate with them on some kind of write up of it of the bylaw. But there's nothing on the website now that I would consider a substitute for what we usually do as a write up for an article.
But Dave, you're saying that we've already submitted to see if county court can satisfy the requirement?
According to the state, yes, because they have to approve whatever overlay district we approve at town meeting.
Does that
Gotcha.
does
So-
that mean the existing buildings, or is there a plot of land there on which there would be a more dense development?
It's both.
So I mean, this could be as simple as saying like you technically would be allowed to build multi-family units in the on Tisdale or the county court parcel if anybody ever chose to do so, and that would be it.
Correct. It is the overlay district gives that land the right to have higher density housing.
Right.
And so, at county court, and I may have this slightly wrong, but it's something akin to if they're going to build new, they will have to buy existing, knock them down, and rebuild the new.
Right.
Well, county court was a 40B where all of Dover's bylaws were thrown out and you revert to the state level. Whereas under the new bylaw under MBTA, Dover's local bylaws all still apply.
Okay.
So the short of it, it is much ado about nothing.
Mm,
And that is by design, and that's why we want to make sure the state concurs with our strategy in advance before we get all the way to the finish line, vote on it, and then submit it, and then have them say no, and we have to go back and do it all over again.
right.
Just to give context, I was at one of the sessions and it was pretty evident that the vast majority of people were supportive of the county court for the different options for precisely that reason of you have to comply, but would something actually get built? Who knows? But I think it makes sense that the town's doing what it is to that you don't have to go back a second time
Yeah.
after the fact.
Okay.
All right, so Nina, you and Simone will talk.
Yes. Yeah, we met, I think it was in May or June, I can't remember. And I think she's been away, so we'll coordinate for sure.
She got back this morning, I think.
Oh, okay.
She's probably asleep right now, but
She go to Brazil.
yeah. Okay, the other agenda item was a working group. I'm going to defer that. I think what I'll do is plan for us to meet again in 2 weeks. And just address the working group. So try and have a short meeting, half an hour or 40 minutes, just to address the working groups so that we can get started on some of the work for the summer, which not the least of which is going to be revising the blue book and drafting the guidance letter. So unless there are objections, I'm happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Good night, all.
Night, David.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, great. A second. Gavin, thank you. Nina?
Yes.
Marty?
Yes.
Gavin?
Yes.
Evan?
Oh, yes. Sorry.
I'm definitely a yes. Okay, so I'll send out an email about meeting in 2 weeks.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Night.
Bye. Thank.